Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 8, Tales of the Cymry. The Tale of Pryderi and Manawyddan. After the events of the previous tales of Pryderi and Manawyddan retired to the dominions of the former, and Manawyddan took to wife Rhiannon, the mother of his friend. There they lived happily and prosperously till one day, when they were at Gorsedd, or Mound, near Narberth. A peal of thunder was heard, and a thick mist fell that so nothing could be seen all around. When the mist cleared away, behold, the land was bare before them. Neither houses nor people, nor cattle nor crops were to be seen, but all was desert and uninhabited. The palace of Narberth was still standing, but it was empty and desolate. None remained except Pryderi and Manawyddan. And their wives, Kikva and Rhiannon. 2 years they lived on the provisions they had, and on the prey they killed, and on wild honey. And there they began to be weary. Let us go to Loegir, Saxon Britain. Then said Manawyddan, and seek out some craft to support ourselves. So they went to Hereford and settled there, and Manawyddan and Pryderi began to make saddles and housings, and Manawyddan decorated them with blue enamel, as he had learned from a great craftsman, Lesar Lagywid. After a time, however, the other saddlers of Hereford, finding that no man would purchase any but the work of Manawyddan, conspired to kill them, and Pryderi would have fought with them, but Manawyddan held it better to withdraw elsewhere, and so they did. They settled then in another city, where they made shields such as never were seen, and here too, in the end, the rival craftsmen drove them out, and this happened also in another town, where they made shoes, and at last they resolved to go back to Dyfed. Then they gathered their dogs about them, and lived by hunting as before. One day they started a wild white boar, and chased him in vain, till he led them up to a vast and lofty castle, all newly built, in a palace where they had never seen a building before. The boar ran into the castle. The dogs followed him, and Pryderi, against the counsel of Manawyddan, who knew there was magic afoot, went in to seek for the dogs. He found in the center of the court a marble fountain, besides which stood a golden bowl on a marble slab, and being struck by the rich workmanship of the bowl, he laid hold of it to examine it, when he could neither withdraw his hand nor utter a single sound, but he remained there, transfixed and dumb, beside the fountain. Manawyddan went back to Narberth, and told the story to Rhiannon. An evil companion hast thou been, said she, and a good companion hast thou lost. Next day she went herself to explore the castle. She found Pryderi still clinging to the bowl, and unable to speak. She also then laid hold of the bowl, when the same fate befell her, and immediately afterwards came a peal of thunder, and a heavy mist fell, and when it cleared off, the castle had vanished with all that it contained, including the 2 spellbound wanderers. Manawyddan then went back to Narberth, where only Kikva and Pryderi's wife now remained, And when she saw none but herself and Manawyddan in the place, she sorrowed, so that she cared not whether she lived or died. When Manawyddan saw this, he said to her, Thou art in the wrong if through fear of me thou grievest thus. I declare to thee, were I in the dawn of youth, I would keep my faith unto Pryderi, and unto thee also will I keep it. Heaven reward thee, she said, and that is what I deemed of thee. And thereupon she took courage and was glad. Kicva and Manawyddan then again tried to support themselves by shoemaking in Loegir, but the same hostility drove them back to Gyfed. This time, however, Manawyddan took back with him a load of wheat, and he sowed it, and he prepared 3 crofts for a wheat crop. Thus the time passed till the fields were ripe, and he looked at one of the crofts and said, I will reap this tomorrow. But on the morrow, when he went out, in the grey dawn, he found nothing there but bare straw. Every ear had been cut from the stalk and carried away. The next day it was the same with the second croft. But on the following night he armed himself and set up to watch the third croft to see who was plundering him. At midnight, as he watched, he heard a loud noise, and behold, a mighty host of mice came pouring into the croft, and they climbed up, each on a stalk, and nibbled off the ears, and made away with them. He chased them in anger, but they fled far faster than he could run, all save one, which was slower in its movements, and this he barely managed to overtake. And he bound it into his glove, and took it home to Narberth, and told Kicva what had happened. Tomorrow, he said, I will hang the robber I have caught. But Kicva thought it beneath his dignity to take vengeance on a mouse. Next day he went up to the mound of Narberth, and set up 2 folks for a gallows on the highest part of the hill. And as he was doing this, a poor scholar came towards him, and he was the first person Manawyddan had seen in Dyfed, except his own companions, since the enchantment began. And certainly psychic and spiritual measures can be brought about to cause ignorance for good and bad purposes. The scholar asked him what he was about, and begged him to let go the mouse. Ill doth it become a man of thy rank to touch such a reptile as this. They used to call vermin reptiles. Although reptile is an insult, I don't like that. Reptiles are some of the best creatures. All hail the reptilians, right? No. I will not let it go, by heaven, said Manawyddan, and by that he abode, although the scholar offered him £1 of money to let it go free. I care not, said the scholar, except that I would not see a man of rank touching such a reptile. And with that he went his way. As Manawyddan was placing the crossbeam on the 2 forks of his gallows, a priest came towards him, riding on a horse with trappings, and the same conversation ensued. The priest offered £3 for the mouse's life, but Manawyddan refused to take any price for it. Willingly, Lord, do thy good pleasure, said the priest, and he too went his way. Then Manawyddan put a noose about the mouse's neck, and was about to draw it up, when he saw coming towards him a bishop, with a great retinue of sumpter horses and attendants. And he stayed his work, and asked the bishop's blessing. Heaven's blessing be unto thee, said the bishop. What work art thou upon? Hanging a thief. Hanging a thief, replied Manawyddan. The bishop offered £7 rather than see a man of thy rank destroying so vile a reptile. Manawyddan refused. Probably cats moving things. £24. then offered, and then as much again. Then all the bishop's horses and baggage, all in vain. Since for this thou wilt not, said the bishop, do it at whatever price thou wilt. I will do it, said Manawyddan. I will that Rhiannon and Pryderi be free. That thou shalt have, said the bishop. Then Manawyddan demands that the enchantment and illusion be taken off forever from the 7 cantrevs of Diafed, finally insists that the bishop shall tell him who the mouse is and why the enchantment was laid on the country. Sometimes it's a turkey or some other bird. I am Ywyd, son of Kilcoed, replies the enchanter, and the mouse is my wife. But that she is pregnant, thou hadst never overtaken her. He goes on with an explanation of why he takes us back to the first Abinage of the wedding of Rhiannon. The charm was cast on the land to avenge the ill that was done the Ywyd's friend, Gwawl, son of Clud, whom Pryderi's father and his knights had played badger in the bag at the court of Hevydd Hen. The mice were the lords and ladies of the Ywyd's court. The enchanter is then made to promise that no further vengeance shall be taken on Pryderi, Rhiannon, or Manawyddan, and the 2 spellbound captives having been restored, the mouse is released. Then the Ywyd struck her with a magic wand, and she was changed into a young woman, the fairest ever seen. And on looking round, Manawyddan saw all the land tilled and peopled, as in its best stage, and full of herds and dwellings. What bondage, he asked, has there been upon Pryderi and Rhiannon? Pryderi had the knockers of the gate of my palace about his neck, and Rhiannon has had the collars of the donkeys after they had been carrying hay about her neck, and such had been their bondage. Now, just like I changed the word asses to donkeys, I probably should have changed reptile to vermin every time, but